Okay, so this video was mostly made out of spite. Nintendo is trying to sell nostalgia back to us, and I want to let people know that there's a better way to play these games. So right now, the official way to play GameCube is a $500 Switch 2 and a $50 a year Nintendo expansion pack membership. And that gets you 9 games. Mind you, you don't get to keep these. So I figured there's gotta be a better way. So I did a bit of research and I found something that no one is talking about, as right now is particularly a great time to get into GameCube modding. Because these things are crazy cheap now, and that's for one really big reason. Now in the past, to jailbreak your GameCube, you had to rely on a disk drive to actually mod it, or required soldering onto your GameCube motherboard, which isn't really user-friendly. But now there are way easier methods to mod your GameCube that don't require a functional disk drive, and you can get broken GameCubes for like 50 bucks, jailbreak it, and load it up with a bunch of games with cool front ends, widescreen mode, playing online, and a lot more. So I'm running through everything, how to get started, what everything means, and hopefully give you a good starting point on how to get up and running with a modded GameCube. I promise, it's way simpler now to get started. Now see, I always wanted to try GameCube modding, but ended up getting confused because there's like 15 different modding methods. I never really understood what all the terms mean, and the GameCube scene loves their abbreviated names. It was just really hard to follow. So I compiled a bunch of information and figured someone out there is probably dealing with the same thing. And hopefully I can get someone to get their system modded, dust off the old lunchbox, and actually try modding this thing. But also, I just kind of want to talk about GameCubes this month. Is that okay? Can we talk about GameCubes? I've been dying to finally make a video about these things for so long. Okay, I know you've been putting off seeing a doctor because you don't know who to call or where to go or what to do exactly. I get it, it can be a lot, but you gotta take care of yourself, dude. And thankfully there's a service that makes this whole process a lot easier. Our sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a completely free service that makes it really easy to find a doctor near you and pick someone that fits exactly your needs. You can search by location, by insurance, profession, and a lot more. And ZocDoc will find someone for you locally or online, and you can even check out reviews by verified patients that have also seen that doctor. And when you're ready, you can book an appointment and see exactly when you'll be able to meet with them, with some doctors even seeing you within 72 hours of booking. And with over 150,000 different providers ranging from dentists, eye doctors, psychiatrists, foot doctors, and a lot more, you're gonna find someone that's right for you, I promise. I get it, I hate having to make phone calls too and going in blind to see a doctor, and ZocDoc has generally made this so much easier for me. Take care of yourself this year, dude. Scan the QR code right here or click the link in the description and try it out. It's free. And thanks again to ZocDoc for supporting the channel so we can afford to keep making cool videos like this. So just like any other old console that I covered in the past, your GameCube is gonna need some sort of help to work with modern setups. The GameCube actually has some really interesting peripherals that make your experience a lot better. Now your brand new shiny 4K OLED Samsung TV might not have the old composite TV ports that we need for the GameCube, so we're gonna need an adapter. Now there's a lot of different options out there, but don't worry, we tested a bunch of them to see what works best for you guys. And none of this stuff is sponsored either. Now I've said it before and I'll say it again, please skip the AV to HDMI adapters. The picture quality from those things are bad, really bad, and aren't representative of what your GameCube is actually capable of. Now there are 2 models of the GameCube, the original Dole 001 that came out at launch, and the Dole 101, which are models that came out after 2004. Now these 001s were the OG release consoles and have both digital and analog video ports in the back. Now if you want the best possible quality you can get out of your GameCube, use the digital port. That'll let you output proper 480p, which is the highest quality you can get out of these ports. Now for the digital port, you have a few options for adapters. Kaiko, Prism, and Bitfunks all have their own adapters, but the Bitfunks one I really like for one specific reason. Now I've said before, I'm not a fan of how some HDMI adapters kind of stick out of the console, kind of like pulling down on the port. I really don't like that. Well, this one includes a little bracket that you can attach to the back of your GameCube that supports the adapter so it's not weighing down on the port. Every single adapter should be doing this. And this Bitfunks adapter also comes with a remote that you can bring up a menu that lets you adjust the brightness, contrast, saturation, etc. of the picture, and can also add CRT scan lines, as most of these games are designed with CRT TVs in mind. Just remember, if you're seeing some weird flickering on screens while using this thing, just go to output settings and enable allow 480p mode to on. That should fix the flickering. Now, if you have the newer Dole 101 model, you have an AV model. Funny thing about the GameCube ports, if you had the old Nintendo consoles before the GameCube, they all share the same video port from the Super Nintendo all the way to the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube. So you can get this really cheapo AV adapter from Bitfunks to get it set up with your newer TV. Heads up though, don't expect great picture quality from this thing. AV kind of sucks, honestly. The output is considerably worse than what you can get from the digital port. So this will look about the same as using basic composite yellow, white, red cables. But at least you can plug it into your TV with HDMI. Now, if you are comfortable soldering, there are HDMI mods that you can solder directly onto your GameCube board. You can get this Pixel FX Gem Shiny. It's a proper full HD experience without all the extra adapters that's hanging on in the back of your GameCube. This is the best possible quality you can get out of original hardware, as it's grabbing the feed directly from the video processing chip. It also has a really nice scaler built in that lets you output all the way to 1440p and has a bunch of other features like deinterlacing, CRT shaders, but with way more customization and presets. But there's a big downside to this. It's expensive. If you just want a direct output with no scaling, it's $129. And if you want it with all the features built in, it's $189. That's almost the same price as like a used 3DS. And you still got to print out your own back panel and source your own screws for this project. That's, nah, dude. So this is really only for the very, very niche audience that is comfortable soldering and wants to get the best picture quality and still wants to use original hardware. But hey, if that's you, definitely give it a shot. The footage you get out of this thing is so nice. Okay, so controllers. You're probably gonna want a better controller that's wireless, as Wavebirds are pretty old now. Plus, those things have no vibration and they need AA batteries just for it to turn on. So they're outdated in more than just one way. So what if you just wanna buy a brand new one? What are your options there? So I'll be honest, I never really liked the GameCube controller. It always felt really, really weird to me. And almost all the ones that I would see at my friends' houses or outside or something would always have the little joystick part worn out. So there was like no rubber and it would just dig right into your thumb. And I never liked it. I know that there's some people that know exactly what I'm talking about because you would see it all the time on the McDonald's GameCubes. They were particularly known for this. Well, Retrofighters makes this modern interpretation of a GameCube controller with both the Xbox and the PlayStation stick layout. It's really good for newcomers to the GameCube who might need to get used to the new design. And it's like not that expensive either. This one still has USB-C for charging. It could still be used as a PC controller if you want. And yes, it still has a little octagon notches on the joysticks for people who care about that stuff. Yeah, what's the deal with those, by the way? Like, why are they so special? Like, why does everyone care so much about these? I think like Smash Bros players in particular really like it for some reason. Yeah, this is much more comfortable for me, honestly. I love this controller and it's super beginner friendly. Again, I'll link this one in the description. Now, if you want to use a controller that you might already own, you're going to want a Blue Retro adapter. This is an open source receiver that makes any controller appear as a GameCube controller. So you can use your Xbox controllers, DualSense, Switch controllers, Wii U controllers, whatever you want. And it works perfectly. But there's a special reason I picked this one over the other adapters. Now, assuming Nintendo decide that you've earned the royal honor of allowing you to buy one in the first place, you can actually use this adapter with the official Switch to GameCube controllers. Man, paying for the ability to pay for a product, that's such a Nintendo move. These guys would like charge you for like voice chat if they could get away with it. Oh my God. Oh yeah, and make sure you actually update the receiver with the latest firmware that has support for the Switch to GameCube controller. I'll leave a guide in the description. Now again, you do need a Nintendo online subscription to even buy this thing, and it's still a pretty expensive controller, but this is genuinely the closest possible thing you can get to experiencing a brand new, straight from Nintendo, original GameCube controller. It is really well built, and it feels just like the original, which is probably why I really didn't like it that much. Oh, by the way, Blue Retro also sells a multi-tap adapter for this thing that's supposed to hook up like 4 controllers to your GameCube in one go. Don't buy this. It's incredibly frustrating to use. And they have a program so you have to pair each controller one at a time with a single button. The whole thing sucks. I'm just letting people know in case someone sees it on Amazon and thinks, oh, that's a cool idea. It's bad. Don't use it. Don't spend your money on that. It's a bad buy. Don't do it. And lastly, memory cards. So there's technically a way to use an SD card to store game saves, but I won't lie, it's really flaky and it isn't supported on many games. So we're still gonna wanna use our own memory card. So any memory card that you buy brand new is going to be a knockoff, just letting you know that right off the bat. But if you want something that's a little bit more robust, get this one from Bitfunks called the GCM-CE. God, these guys really like their acronyms. Jesus Christ. This one can create basically unlimited memory cards within one memory card and stores everything on a micro SD card, so that way you can import and export your saves really easily. This one also has an OLED screen that can show you a little logo of any specific game that you're loading up. Little tip, GameCube memory card files are stored as .raw files, so you can't just drag and drop save files onto your memory card. But that's okay, because you can actually use Dolphin to manage and import your saves, since it already has a built-in memory card manager. You just open up your SD card in Dolphin and look for the card's .raw file. Then Dolphin can show you all the saves already on that memory card, and now you can start importing custom saves or backing up your old saves. It's kind of neat, right? Now, you're still going to need some sort of storage to house, like your games and your homebrew and stuff like that, and we can't reuse the Swiss memory card for that. So how do we get storage onto this thing? Well, the answer depends on which model GameCube you actually have. The 001 models, great news, your GameCube already has a serial port under it that we can use for more storage. This was originally used to add an Ethernet jack to your GameCube, but now we can use something like an SD to SP2 adapter, which goes right under the GameCube and gives your GameCube an extra SD card slot so we can actually start storing all of our games and everything. Now, if you have a 101 model, that one doesn't have a serial port, so you can't use an SD adapter through here. It's not possible. But that's okay, because we can use one of these GameCube to SD memory cards. They're like $10 and load our games from there. See, problem solved. Now for ODE mods like Flippy Drive, those ones usually have an SD card slot already built into the microchip, so you can load games directly from the SD card. Only thing that sucks is you gotta take apart your GameCube to access the SD card in case you ever wanna change anything. But there are ways around that, which I'll show off later. By the way, the biggest GameCube games go up to like 2 gigs max, so don't go crazy on SD card storage. A 128 gig should be more than enough to store a bunch of different games. And that should be it. I know, a lot of different hardware stuff, but remember, all of this is just completely optional. I just wanted to give you like a proper decent list of all the things that someone might need to be able to get this done to try and save you some time. Oh dude, and if I did save you some time, maybe you can check and make sure that you're subscribed. We're so close to 500,000 people here, and I'd love for you to be a part of what we're building. Okay, so what does it mean to actually jailbreak a GameCube? Like, what are we actually doing to it? Well, the entire modding scene on the GameCube runs on something called Swiss. This is the application that allows us to do all the cool moddy, hacky stuff on our GameCube, like custom saves, loading games, and even some really cool front ends to show off your game collection. But we'll get to that later. But that's really all the GameCube jailbreak is. It's just finding a way to get Swiss onto our GameCube somehow. Now, this was one of the more confusing parts of the process for me, as there's like 15 different methods to jailbreak your console, from a simple soft mod all the way to soldering directly to the GameCube board. But we'll get to all of that. I'm gonna start with the easiest methods and then work our way to the more intricate stuff. But I will say, you will get a much better experience if you're willing to take apart your GameCube. So if you just want to get your GameCube modded without taking anything apart, the fastest way to get started is with game save exploits. So some games that were originally released on the GameCube have exploits in them that we can use to inject a jailbreak onto our GameCube. I'll leave a link in the description to see what games you can actually use with this method. All you need is a copy of one of those games and a memory card with a modded save file on it. Now, how do you get this modded save onto a memory card? Well, you have a couple options. If you happen to have a modded Wii, you can download the save file onto your Wii, plug in your memory card, and transfer it using an app like GCMM. Then you have a modded memory card that we can use to run the exploit. Now, if you don't have a Wii, just check through your couch cushions. I'm sure you can find one there. Or you can purchase a pre-modded memory card off of places like eBay to skip this entire step. I'll link some good ones in the description. Don't spend too much money on this. So once you have both the game and the modded save file, you just load up the game, enter the save, and look, you're officially jailbroken. Now the downside of this, every time you want to boot up your GameCube, you're gonna have to load up the disk, load up the save file, etc., blah, 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 every single time you turn on the console. Some games are faster than others at this, and members have actually timed which games are the fastest to boot into. For example, Smash Bros. Melee takes 19 seconds to do this whole process from start to finish, but Animal Crossing can take 90 seconds from start to finish. And wouldn't you know it, the faster the game, the more expensive the game is. Who could have seen that coming? That's crazy. And obviously this will require a functional disk drive. I mean, duh, right? So while this is the easiest, it's not exactly the fastest or the cheapest. So what if you have a GameCube without a functional disk drive? I mean, these things are like 25 years old now. They're bound to die. What are your options? So the next option is mod chipping. Now this does require you to take apart your GameCube, but I promise it's not as hard as you think, and the best part is, you don't solder anything if you don't want to. This is the method that I personally think everyone should be going for, honestly. This is the best method at the time that I'm filming this video. Now there's like 40 billion different types of mod chips out right now, but the one that I think most people would be interested in is Pico Loader. This mod chip can actually be done with a Raspberry Pi, which makes it super cheap to accomplish since those Pico boards are like $4. You know what's weird? This is not the first time or even the second time I've seen the Raspberry Pi modding a console. I've already met this guy in my modded OLED Switch and my PS4 Pro. This guy just keeps coming back somehow. Now, to be honest, while you can buy the other parts necessary to do this mod individually, using a real Pi does require soldering directly to the motherboard. But nowadays, you can just buy a straight up kit that has everything you'll need to get started, including the memory card to store Swiss. And they don't require any soldering at all. They're completely plug and play. And they're like 25 bucks. This kit that I got came with a Pico board, 2 ribbon cables in case I mess up, the bracket, and even the memory card will be loading Swiss off of. I'll link it in the description. It's really cheap, honestly, for what you get. Installation is really simple too. You just plug in the mod chip into a computer, download the Swiss file, pick the file for Pico Loader, and drag in the UF2 file. And that's it. It's ready to be installed. Now, like I said, this does require you to take apart your GameCube, but it's really not that hard. And it's honestly a great skill to have, so you can install more mods down the line. It's really not that bad. It's like 10 screws to take apart. You unplug the disk drive, slot in the ribbon cable that you need to like fold in a weird W type angle, and press all of it back in. The disk drive will make contact with the ribbon cable so that there's pressure on the ribbon cable. Then you just plug in the mod chip, secure it to the frame, and that's it, you're done. Oh, by the way, yeah, these GameCubes use some really crazy proprietary screws to get inside. Apparently these were super common in the 2000s for some reason. Either way, you're gonna need a special screwdriver to get into the deep screws on the bottom of the GameCube. I'll link this one in the description. I counted, and this thing took like 20 minutes from start to finish to install this thing. It's really not that bad. Then once it's all put back together again, you plug in your memory card with Swiss installed on it, press the power button, and that's it, you're jailbroken. The best part about this method, in my opinion, is that you don't have to destroy your disk drive to be able to install this mod chip, unlike other solutions, which means you can have both a modded console and still play physical discs if you want. This, in my opinion, is the best middle ground of functional and accessible, and it's the one I see a lot of people going after. I'll link the kit that I used in the description. Now there's a third modding method that completely bypasses the GameCube's disk drive in order to read games from an SD card. These are called optical drive emulators, or ODE mods. Back in the day, these mods would require you to completely remove your disk drive to get it running, but we have much better solutions now. This is called the Flippy drive, and it's by far the best everything solution for GameCube modding at the time of making this video. You install it just like any other mod chip, but it's an all-in-one solution, meaning that there's already an SD card slot built into the chip so you can load Swiss, your games, saves, homebrew, etc. directly from the chip, instead of having to use a memory card or some sort of other external device. The Flippy drive also has other extensions like this Ethernet adapter that lets it do really cool stuff like Wi-Fi support, loading games from a home server, playing modded versions of games online, and a lot of other cool stuff that I'll show you later. And again, this whole thing is all plug and play. There's zero soldering required to get any of this set up. Big thank you to Cheeto from Nacho Nacho Productions for sending this to me on such a tight schedule, by the way. This is his personal GameCube with the Flippy drive installed into it. He even modded his to remove the LED plastic on the top and put an extension cable for the micro SD card slot. So you can swap it out without having to take apart the entire console. I thought that was really, really cool. And like I said, before, you had to basically remove your entire disk drive to use an ODE mod. But the Flippy drive lets you have all the benefits of an ODE mod and still lets you keep your disk drive, so that way you can still load in physical discs. The Flippy drive is a little bit more expensive than other mods. These are the prices as of filming this video, but this is about the best system you can get for a GameCube right now. It really does just handle everything for you. And that's basically the only mods you really need to know. Like I said, there's a lot of other modding methods that I didn't cover, like GC Loader or Cube ODE, but they're not really relevant anymore as they all have drawbacks that have been solved by these newer kits. So we got all the hardware set up. Now let's talk about Swiss. So Swiss is the main big software that we use on GameCube for loading games, emulators, homebrew, apps, and a bunch of other important tools for your GameCube. Now, all of the modding methods that you'll see out there like Pico Boot or game save exploits, all of them run Swiss at its core. Swiss is also a front end, so it can also display all of your games that you loaded up into your SD card, all nice and pretty, and it reflects your folder structure in your SD card too. So if you want to sort out your games by like genre or series or something, you can totally do that here. I know some people see a long list of games and end up getting like decision paralysis, so it's nice to be able to at least organize your games like this a little nicer. And Swiss gives you a lot of different settings you can configure for each individual game that makes games much nicer to play. For example, you can force the game to run at specific resolutions like 480p, which is great as some TVs and capture cards have issues running games in interlaced resolutions. You can also force widescreen hacks on games, and it is really nice for modern TVs. It completely changes the look of some games. Pick 3D and 2D mode when using this, by the way. It'll properly render the game itself, but also scale the UI assets so you don't get that weird stretched effects on the buttons. Now, it's definitely not perfect. All GameCube games were never designed to be played in widescreen mode, so sometimes stuff will render on the sides of the screen that you were never meant to see as a player. But it's still a really nice experience. Just try it out. It literally is just a toggle to switch on and off. Swiss also has a quick toggle to invert camera settings. This is the biggest problem I had with older consoles. Some games just didn't have any options to uninvert the camera controls. Like if I was the problem somehow. But with this toggle, you can finally put it back to how normal people think of camera controls. And it's game specific too. Now, I won't lie, Swiss does look a little bit older. I mean, it's been around for like, what, 16-ish years now? So some devs have actually been trying to create new front ends built off of Swiss. The developers of Flippy Drive made a front end called QBoot, which is meant to directly replicate the look and feel of the OEM stock GameCube menu. And it shows off your games really nicely, in my opinion. Now, I won't lie, it's kind of lacking in features compared to traditional Swiss. For example, there's no way to configure games at all right now, or set resolutions for them or anything, but they're still working on it. QBoot also has a built-in disc ripper too, so you can back up your physical GameCube discs, which is really nice since Nintendo loves proprietary formats for some reason. Okay, let's talk about internet connectivity. I am so proud of this stuff, especially since not many people have great coverage of how all this works, but it's really worth it when you get it all set up all together. So there's a few ways to get internet connectivity on your GameCube. The first one is buying an original broadband adapter, which these things are pretty expensive now, so I don't blame you if you don't want to fork over that much for an Ethernet port. Plus, the speeds on these are really slow nowadays. Thankfully, there are now aftermarket ones that don't require a phone line or any messy setup. There's a project called ETH2GC that's a DIY open source version of the broadband adapter. You can build your own, but nowadays, plenty of places will just build it for you, and you can just buy it for like 30 bucks, plug it into your GameCube, and you're up and running. Now with this adapter, we can do some really cool stuff like playing online. Now we really wanted to test this for ourselves, but unfortunately, the guy who makes these is in Poland and it wouldn't have arrived in time. Let me know if you would want to see like a whole dedicated vid about how to get playing online and everything. I think it'd be so cool. These are modded patch versions of the game that can run on original GameCube hardware, and it's really, really cool. Back in the day, there was only like 2 games that could actually run this, but now you can play at least 3 games. And you can even play with people that are playing on Dolphin Emulator too. This is such a crazy thing to see on this device. Another thing you can do is rip games and transfer them directly to a PC through Ethernet. It's kind of slow, but it's definitely an option. Now the Flippy Drive Ethernet port has some extra options that aren't possible on the standard Ethernet adapters, since it's wired directly to the disk drive. For example, if you have a NAS or a PC somewhere, your GameCube can directly tap into the server's storage and stream GameCube games over the internet. So instead of having to swap out your SD card every time you want to put in new games or be limited by the amount of storage on your SD card, you can store all of your games on your PC or your NAS, start the server, and never have to disassemble your GameCube again. Now there is a catch. The Flippy Drive developers are working on multiplayer support, but it's expected to come out literally any day now. But right now, Flippy Drive's Ethernet features are only for loading files and games. But pretty soon, the Flippy Drive Ethernet port will be the everything option for online connectivity for the GameCube. I've really just been wanting to talk about this little box for so long now, and I'm really happy to finally see all of this information coming together. I really didn't want to get into GameCube modding before because the information kind of sucked. It's not that it's bad, it's just that there's so much of it scattered across 15 different modding scenes. But now we're getting to a point now where these GameCubes are easier than ever to get modded, and they're cheap enough now that I can feel comfortable recommending them to people. Now, I know some people are probably asking like, well, why do all this? You can just go get a Wii or something instead. It's just like, I think to myself, what a sad way to think about things. Like, why do people still fix up and restore and drive old cars when better cars exist? Because people love those cars and they have a lot of memory and history attached to them. Same thing with these consoles. I feel like a lot of people probably have memories of growing up with this little lunchbox as a kid and want to find new ways to experience it. Now, that doesn't mean I want to rule out Wii modding either, so let me know if you're interested in like an everything Wii video about jailbreaking it and stuff. I think that'd be really cool. We have like it's over there. Look, you can go pay a bunch of money for a Switch 2 and $50 a year to borrow these games from Nintendo that you'll never actually own, or pick up one of these, $50, $30 mod chip, and play the entire library with widescreen mods, a controller you actually like, and in some cases, even playing online. I think that's a way better deal, honestly. I really hope you take something from this video. I'm hoping this inspires someone out there to dig out their old GameCube from their closet and start playing with it again. It's a really great console. I've also modded a bunch of other consoles that I think you might find really interesting. I really think you'll like them. So click over here to watch that, and thank you for watching.